Shitty pop day, I won't dance. I won't dance. I started playing piano at the age of 5. My dad put me into piano lessons because he thought I had some sort of ounce of musical potential. Unfortunately, my interest in music seriously wavered, and by the age of 9 I was really ready to give up. My dad thought, you can't give up, I've just got to try a different approach. So what he did is he found me a rock and roll and blues piano teacher, and that was fantastic because he came to my house, and I remember our first lesson vividly. He got on the piano and he played this bluesy piece, and I was just blown away. You know, I'd never heard anything like it. I'd never heard my piano sound like that. I just heard sort of scales and studies, and all of a sudden music really meant something to me. I said, you know, can you show me how to do that? And he said, sure. We've been checking out the blues for a while. And then he said, Sarah, you're getting pretty good at that. You want to try jazz? And I was like, what's jazz? He said, well, go down to the CD store and pick up a jazz record and tell me what you think. So I was like, okay. So I found a CD called Jazz on a Winter's Night. And I put it on, and I didn't need to go past the first song, because the first song was Oscar Peterson's Night Train. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. I think because it has a strong sense of the blues in that piece is why I loved it so much. And from that moment on I was hooked. I started delving into Oscar Peterson and his bass player Ray Brown, who I just love. Found out that Ray Brown played with all these other piano players, and that's when I heard Gene Harris for the first time, who would probably be my favourite jazz pianist. Again, very bluesy jazz. And a record that he had that I loved was the Red Hot Ray Brown Trio. And it was absolutely fantastic. There's one song called Have You Met Miss Jones? And there's a beautiful piano intro and a piano solo. And again, I just had to play like that, so I transcribed his solo. And that's really how I got into jazz. And I sort of had in the back of my mind, this is kind of weird, like, why am I into this strange music? You know, all of my friends are listening to the Backstreet Boys and to the Spice Girls, and why the hell am I listening to guys that were popular in the 1950s? It wasn't until I went to the Generations in Jazz School Bands Festival at the age of 13 that I had a bit of a revelation. I saw James Morrison play for the first time, and he was playing with the most amazing musicians, all playing the music that I'd been listening to. And there they were up on the stage, you know, making money, performing for a living. And I thought at that point, wow, you know, like, well, if they're doing it, you know, maybe I can do it too. So from that point on, I went about every avenue trying to get involved in jazz. I found out that James Morrison held a scholarship every year for 6 young musicians from all around Australia to come and compete for his scholarship in Mount Gambier. I remember a friend of mine said, you just wait, Sarah McKenzie, you'll come back after that festival, you know, smiling from here to here, you know, because you've had such a wonderful experience playing with James, participating in workshops, you know, meeting other young people your own age playing jazz. You know, you'll be hooked, you won't be able to do anything else but music now. I loved it so much, I entered it every year for the next 6 years consecutively.
I met Sarah as a contestant in Mount Gambier at a thing called Generations in Jazz, and she was there firstly as a piano contestant for a couple of years, and then we had a vocal division that started, and we encouraged her to enter that too. All of the promise that you hear sometimes in a young musician doesn't necessarily come out that way, and everything I thought she might be able to do, she can, and more. And I remember when we first met her, she was coming out of high school and said, I'm not sure where to go to college. And we said, move to Western Australia and go there because there's a great job for you. And she did her years there and came back. And as it went along, every time I'd hear her, I'd go, oh, yeah, this is turning into what I thought it could, you know, her talent. And as I say, even more.
WAPA is the most amazing performing arts academy for all aspects of the arts, including acting and musical theatre, costume design, sound and lighting, and also jazz performance music. And it's a very prestigious school, and it's a very tough school as well. So I was so thrilled to find out that I'd got a place. And then I moved my whole life from Melbourne to Perth. And I had no family over there, and I was kind of scared, but at the same time, just so excited to be studying there. Studying composition with Graham Lyle was one of the highlights, because I've written a couple of big band charts already, but things that I want to do musically include kind of like a Harry Connick Jr. setup, I guess, playing and singing at the piano, my own music, writing for a big band, writing for a string orchestra, as things I really wanted to do, and that was part of the reason I moved my whole life from Melbourne over to Perth, was to study with Graham to get these skills to improve my musicality. Adrian Jackson, who's a prominent figure in the Melbourne jazz scene, recommended I talk to the ABC about the possibility of recording an album. So I had a meeting with the ABC. In fact, I had several meetings with the ABC. But still they were sort of like, who is this 21-year-old girl, Like, we know nothing about her. She's been in Perth for 3 years. So what they did was they sent Chong Lim down to one of my gigs.
I first heard about Sarah from the ABC. And they're based in Sydney, and they said, look, do you want to check her out? What do you think? And I went and saw her performance at Bennett's Lane. And after the first song, I think it was, 9:15 in the evening, grabbed my phone. I said, Mr. ABC, you've got to sign her now.
When the ABC suggested having a producer, initially I was not very keen. I spent a whole year writing compositions and writing for an orchestra and big band. I have a really clear vision for how I want this album to go, and I don't want someone else to tell me, how to write the arrangements or anything like that. I just really wanted to get my musical ideas out. What I didn't know was that Chong Lim would never ever tell me how to do anything. Having Chong as the producer was the best thing that could have happened to the album.
Sarah's a very interesting, eclectic artist, singer, songwriter, producer, composer, arranger. She's actually many things, and I was really blown away by her originality, and yet she has an affinity to tradition. But mind you, she's very strong-willed. She's certainly a very strong character, which is really important for artists to be anyway. So, when I heard her, I thought, I've got to work with her. She is brilliant.
Chong Lim asked me to find one song that wasn't a part of the jazz repertoire for the album. And initially I found this really stressful. I really just wanted to record an album of jazz standards with a couple of originals. I didn't really want to record any pop songs. But once again, Chong Lim proved to be the wiser, because it was a fantastic challenge. I thought, what if we turned Elvis Presley's song Love Me Tender into a bossa? And then I started sort of playing the chords on the piano and sort of thinking about that. And then I thought, wouldn't it be beautiful if we had Julian Wilson play a saxophone solo over the top, because he's got that beautiful, mellow, lyrical sound on the saxophone. And I started thinking, yeah, this would be lovely. And Hugh Stuckey on the acoustic guitar, really soft and Brazilian. It's a different version, and I really like it.
I'd be running and searching for you.
As far as the album goes, I actually don't have a favorite. I love every song, but the one that I love listening to is Jinji, which is a great Antonio Carlos Jobim song. After I recorded it, I thought, well, she's done a great job of paying homage to Astrid Gilberto. She has done a sensitive interpretation that I thought she was paying homage to this great artist, but she wasn't. It was just her. That's what she's like. She can really get inside a song, and that's why I love the song. And of course, her playing on it is sumptuous.
Sometimes you hear an artist do an album and you go, oh, I've heard them live, it's actually better than that, or it's different. This is really her. It really does capture what she's about, and I think that's wonderful. It's always earthy and always straight ahead jazz. That wonderful combination of giving you classic jazz and at the same time being fresh.
Love me or leave me, that's what it said, but I ain't got no.
My dream is to play at the Montreux Jazz Festival. Growing up, I just always had the idea that I really want to play. You know, I want to play and I want to record and work with fantastic people and have amazing adventures and have a wonderful life with music.
One of the exciting things about Sarah is that there is kind of no limit to how far she can go with this. You know, how big her career can be, and I'm just excited to see where it does go. Certainly she has a major international career in front of her, I know for sure, because I travel all the time, I know what's going on everywhere, I can see what's going on, and she's really got something special to offer.
Love me or leave me, baby. There ain't no place to go.